Welcome back, folks. Linda Dvorak is here today. She is, of course, the board president of the Golden Rain Foundation. We're glad she's here because it's going to be a busy day, another one for you today.
Yes.
You've got us, you've got the REC master plan, and then you go right into the budget kickoff meeting.
Yes.
So very busy.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, we should have brought you a jumbo mug of coffee, but there's some in our green room, so help yourself. You may need some. All right, so yesterday, 3-hour meeting, and you had a lot to talk about, and certain things that you went ahead and approved. Actually, most of the things you approved here. But as we talked before we started here, one of the biggest things that came up yesterday was the current hospitality room, as it's as it's called, over in the stables area. And as you said, this was something that was maybe put up a few years ago, sort of, well, maybe not quite up to code, in an area that was a horse stall.
Right, right. We don't know when it was done because there are no permits for doing it. But they converted a horse stall by putting plastic on the dirt floor and putting plywood and then a wood base that they then carpeted. And when we went to put new flooring down, the wood was rotted and we couldn't put the flooring that the Saddle Club wanted, and the only alternative was a cement floor, which would preclude it from ever being a stall again.
Right.
And the board felt that so many of the original stalls have been taken up with additional tack rooms, with a kitchen, with a workroom, in that we really wanted this to be converted back to a stall, and create a hospitality room someplace else that was more conducive to the needs of the group that is using it, and that is they like to sit and watch the horses.
Right.
And from that hospitality room, the only thing they saw is the parking lot. So what would happen is they would go in, get a cup of coffee, go outside, use a table and chairs in the breezeway and watch the horses. So it was very rarely used for anything other than grab a cup of coffee.
Okay, but there was, you were talking about some furniture in there as well.
The Saddle Club did purchase some furniture. They were advised that there was a risk to doing that, but the president wanted to do it because she said it was on sale and the company was going out of business and they could get a good price. And we told her that if she did that there was a risk because she was doing it outside of the normal process. And I know that our process is cumbersome and sometimes, is a lengthy one due to committee, meetings and so on. But it does work. And so they bought the furniture before the hospitality room was inspected, before we could look at and see what needed to be done in there. We found that wiring was not done to code. There were a number of items in addition to the flooring. So it just didn't make sense. But they can use the furniture anywhere we do the hospitality room. It just became a real contentious issue.
Okay, and I would imagine part of this is a hospitality room, whether it's over at the stables or somewhere else, is open to anyone to come over there and sit down. And
absolutely.
And so when a club, even though they're in a sense buying this furniture or maybe even donating it in a sense, it has to go through the process because does it become, when that furniture there become GRF property? Is it still property?
Yes.
Of the, okay, so that's why you have to look at it to be approved. Is it going to work? Is it going to fit?
That's right.
Is the furniture going to be, I know in a small space, if you have too much furniture in there, it becomes an accessibility problem.
Right.
And you have to follow code that obviously somebody that may be in a walker or a wheelchair has to be able to get in and out freely.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I understand that, but it was kind of a long discussion. And I know the Saddle Club folks are very passionate about it.
Yes.
And it looks like that going forward that there can be something that can be worked out here. They were a little bit worried, you said, that is it going to cause their fees to go up?
Absolutely. And that is, that's always a worry on the part of this, any group in this community that, will we do something that raises fees? Changing this stall to, the hospitality room to a stall is actually a benefit to them because it will bring in additional income, which would reduce their fees. So it kind of offsets one another.
Right, and in fact, Director Larry Souza brought that point up a couple times, how you kind of, as he said, the green banana theory, but you got to plan for the future, where this may be cause a little bit of commotion over there, but in the long run, having an extra stall will bring in extra money,
That's
obviously,
right.
and they'll still get the benefit of a hospitality room in the future that is code. I would imagine it would be a little bit warmer during the winter time. And,
it should be.
and have a real floor and wiring that's up to code. Another thing you talked about, I found this really interesting that Director Marv Rosenhaft talked about, and that was consider a bus rider counting system.
Yes. We're just thrilled with this because right now we know that we have somewhere between 25 and 30,000 rides a month on our bus system, but we don't know how many people that involves.
Okay.
And what this will allow us to do is count the number of people, not just the number of rides, so that we have a better idea, and it will allow us through the GPS system to see where that rider is going and where most of our people are using and the times that they're using it. Not that we know who the individual is, but we'll know the number. If your tag that the counter reads is number 73, we'll know that number 73 went from here to here and had to change buses 3 times to get to where they were going, and then likewise coming back. Marv used an example, not at the meeting yesterday, but in the past, that when his mother rides the bus, when she's going to a particular destination, it counts as 6 rides because she gets on 3 buses going and 3 buses coming back. So that really skews the numbers, and maybe we can develop the bus system in a way that is more responsive.
Right.
And rearrange our routes to accommodate the people better with knowledge rather than guessing as we did with the dual hub.
Now, how will these tags work? Are they RFID tags, or are they just little numbers that the people
No, they're
carry?
actually, I guess they're IRD. They
have a chip in them.
They have a chip,
Yeah.
and they can be put right on their community ID card. They're adhesive, and they don't have to be run through a scanner, just waved over it, and it counts them coming in. So my understanding is that it can even be in a purse and it will read it. So you don't even have to take it out.
Now, how will people go about getting these if this is approved, and will everyone be issued one?
Anyone that uses the buses would be issued one.
Okay.
Not needed that we give it to the whole community. And that will be worked out. I'm sure that we'll do it with a program through the volunteers and at our meetings that we have about the bus routes. So it will be done for the people that ride the buses.
Right, and mentioned in that is that these tags will not be attached to a particular name.
Exactly.
So there's not a privacy issue
No,
here.
none.
It's just you are, this may seem kind of sterile, but you're a body on the bus, and we want to know how many riders are taking this bus at a particular time from where to where they get off.
That's
and really
it.
give you a
That's
great
it.
overview of how these are used.
Yes.
Quite a bit. All right, another thing that you talked about, really kind of 3 in a row here, were different pricing policies, and this is 2 of them were guest fee pricing policy at both the aquatics centers and the fitness rooms, and also an exception for the rate as far as renting a room. And particularly that one, what you did is you went out and you saw the going rate in different areas. One of them, what's a room cost over at the Ayers Hotel, not a bedroom, but they're convention areas, if you want to call them that.
Or
they're
room rental, they're
meeting
conference rooms, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And then we converted everything to square footage, and we found it pretty consistent throughout the different facilities in the area as far as their pricing was concerned. So it made it a lot easier for us to say, okay, we'll take a percentage of that we feel is reasonable for our facilities, and still make money on it. In other words, these fees are for people who are not residents.
Right.
They are clubs or organizations from outside the community that want to do something inside the community and rent. So we made sure we know what our cost is per room in every facility, and we made sure that our cost is covered and then some.
Right.
And
you emphasized that a few times.
Yes.
Even though the going rate here might be less than what the Ayers charges or local church for their room, it will cover the costs here and indeed bring in a bit
additional
of a profit
funds
as well.
Exactly.
And that's the key here. Now, as far as the guest pricing fees, you want to take a look at that as far as we're evaluating what a guest comes along and wants to go to the pool or use the fitness room. Obviously, not off the street. They're here with a resident.
Right. And as we did with all of the other user fees, the golf course, the stables, the garden centers, we looked at our cost per use. And for the fitness center, our cost per use is $3 across the board. And our current guest fee is $6. So that was double what our cost is. And so we decided that that was reasonable. We would keep it and put it into a formula so that now, as our cost changes every year with the budget, if it doesn't, that fee will not change. But if it does change, then the fee will just be doubled whatever our cost is for the fitness center. The pool was a different situation, and we've been back and forth with that because every other community association that has a pool does not charge for pool use, whether it's a guest or a resident. I have yet to find any that do charge a fee, but we have always charged a $2 guest fee. And so we went back and forth as to whether or not we should charge anything at all for guests. And then we looked at the cost per use, and it was $6. So we decided, rather than eliminate the guest fee, we would actually subsidize the use of the pool by a guest by 50%. So they will pay 50% of our cost, or $3, and we will pay, the community will pay 50%. So because we felt that the $6 that covers the cost per use is out of line.
Okay. Well, in just a short time from now, if you're watching this in the morning, you're going to have your recreation master plan overview. And one of those items that you created a ad hoc committee was you were talking about actually dissolving the Clubhouse 2 ad hoc committee and bringing it into that master plan, right?
Right.
Yeah.
One of the stumbling blocks we had with the ad hoc committee, the Clubhouse 2 ad hoc committee, was that we were waiting for the recreation master plan to come in and to use that in our analysis of the clubhouse, of the Gate 12 area.
Right.
And when it did come in, we realized that limiting the scope of that ad hoc committee to just the Gate 12 area was too limiting. And so we dissolved that Clubhouse 2 ad hoc committee, and we're forming the recreation master plan so that if there is work done in Gate 12 that impacts another area in a kind of a domino effect. We
Right.
move something there, and then, you know,
Exactly, yeah.
that we can't, that ad hoc committee has the ability to look at the whole community and see what that domino effect is and plan for it.
Right. Well, that the Master Plan Ad Hoc Committee meeting, and that starts, if you're watching this in the morning, any minute, starts at 9 o'clock.
I think it's in. It started at 8:30.
Yeah, and following that is, of course, the business plan kickoff meeting, which you always invite the public to. This is the start of looking at the 2014 budget, and going forward, there will be many more of these such meetings as you go
Yes.
through all the different versions. It's always important for people. This is the time, as you said, as you have said, as all the board presidents have said in the past, to get your voices heard instead of waiting to the final business plan, which is in August.
Right.
And they're like, well, wait a second. And you're like, well, and you were always there saying, you know what, we've had plenty of meetings. This is when you need to voice your opinion so we can formulate this budget going forward.
Absolutely.
And that's the time to change things. As they said, just like in construction, when there's a change order in the last minute, it costs more time and effort and sometimes money than if it was planned for in the beginning, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Lynn, thank you very much. I know you have to get off to a day of meetings, and I appreciate you getting on here and telling us all about the GRF meeting. Of course, as you can see there on the screen, we replay that at 1:30 tomorrow, and then again at 6 p.m. on March 13th. It ran just exactly 3 hours, maybe off. We're off by 20 seconds or so, but that's pretty much what it was. So tune into that. Lynn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next is Tim Jamal. He's a trustee with the South Orange County Community College District. We'll be right back.